Welcome everyone to our first session of Trophy Gold, the Soul Sword Forge. My name is Sam Zimmerman. I use he and him pronouns, and I'm very excited to be running this today. This is a module that I'm writing for Zine Quest. A link to the Kickstarter will be in the description, and it is coming out very soon, and I'm very excited. Trophy Gold is a game of dark, desperate treasure hunters delving into the deep places of the world, looking for any little bit of sustenance that will keep them going to the next day. This is a gritty game. This is a dark game. And so expect some kind of heavy themes and heavy imagery here. As such, we are using a lot of safety tools today. We are using the X card, we are using lines and veils, we are using script change, and we are using the open door policy. Links to find out more about any of those things will be in the description of this video. In addition to that, this game is organized and run through the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet is an online gaming community where we can get together and play really awesome role-playing games with a bunch of like-minded cool people, like all of these people. And I'm very excited to be playing with them. And I highly encourage you to come and join us. And I hope I get to play a game with you soon. Speaking of wonderful people, let's have the players introduce themselves. Please introduce yourself, not your character. We'll do that in a bit. Just give your name, your pronouns, and if you want to plug a social media or a project you're working on, feel free to do so. John, why don't you go first?
Hi, everyone. I'm John. I use he, him pronouns. Not too much to plug. You can follow me on Twitter at JohnGrimm. I do develop a website for Rolling Dice Online. If you are nerds like us, it's rollwithme.xyz. I am working on a new updated version that is going to bring a lot of new features with it. So you can start to see some of those previews coming out now. Yeah, more of coming along in the way.
Awesome. Rollwithme.xyz is fantastic, and you should all use it. Daniel, why don't you go next?
Hey, I'm Daniel. I use he, him, they, them pronouns. I've got nothing really to plug. Definitely don't follow me on social media.
Fair enough. Jan, why don't you go next?
My name is Jan. I use he, him pronouns as well. And I've been working on a role-playing game for 5 years, which I've scrapped and restarted many times. I don't really have social media. Excuse me. So you can't follow me even if you wanted to, although you could make an account for me and then take a picture of me and then follow that if you wanted to, I suppose.
I know the feeling of stopping and restarting games for many, many years, so I empathize with you on that. Last but not least, Gerald.
Hi, I'm Gerald. I use he, him pronouns. I don't have anything to plug. You can't follow me on social media, but just really excited to play. This is my first time with Trophy Gold.
Awesome. So with that, let's get into the game. So Trophy is a game of dark and desperate treasure hunters. So let's kind of introduce our hunters. So I'm going to go in reverse character order. So John, why don't you introduce us to Parda?
Yes, I would be playing Parda. Parda uses she, her pronouns. She has a background as a failed witch hunter. She failed and now has a scar showing that failure that reminds her of it all the time. This sort of her right hand doesn't quite work so well. It gets stiff at times. Her current occupation is as a scavenger, scavenging her way largely through ancient Caldor, where she's still learning things and documenting them, and that is her drive, is to publish her discoveries from ancient Caldor.
Very fun. How did you learn the glamoring ritual that you have? Is that a new acquisition? Is that something you had from your witch hunting days?
It was actually taught to me by a witch.
I like that. So was this part of your downfall as a witch hunter, or was this kind of after the fact?
It was prior to the downfall. There was a falling out, and it went better for the witch.
That's awesome. So you are working on publishing your discoveries. Do you have a like publisher that you're working with? Is this a like a group effort that you're working with other adventurers to put together this anthology type deal, or is this you're working alone? You're creating this magnum opus journal of uh, discoveries and
You were
relics?
giving me way too much credit. Parta has never quite been able to stomach anybody for long enough to put thoughts to paper, let alone start to endeavor to really publish something. It's really just one of those things in the back of your mind of like, I'm gonna do this one day, but then every time you go to do it, it's like, why? I hate this. Why am I trying this?
Lovely. So she hasn't even started, and so we're
It's all up here.
I love it. I
I
love
just got to find the right team.
That's fantastic. So I'm very much looking forward to exploring with Parda. Next in the order we have Daniel. Why don't you introduce us to Elisio?
Sure. Elisio is the most unlucky bastard who's ever lived. Um, he lost his family when he was young. He's lost every job he's ever had. He was once bit by a werewolf, but it didn't really take. So he can neither become like a terrible wolf, nor can he become an actual person. They once tried to execute him for his crimes, but the rope broke. And the best thing that has ever happened to him was he once saw a very beautiful noblewoman with her noble friends, and he fell instantly in love with her. And much to his surprise, she decided to talk with him. And cruelly, she told him that she would marry him if he brought her back an impossible to obtain artifact as a lark. Um, so now he is on this disastrously self-destructive quest to find this thing for her in the name of true love, which doesn't actually exist.
Gosh, I love Elisio. That's fantastic. Um, you carry around a winter wolf pelt with you. Is this a I'm interested in how this kind of connects with you being half wolf yourself. Is this a memento, a reminder, or is this like something you're trying to get rid of?
No, he's incredibly unlucky, but he's terribly good at vengeance.
Ah, that's awesome.
And he keeps his skinning knife very sharp.
That's amazing. And you also have this ritual to germinate plants. Is that part of being a werewolf, or is that something picked up elsewhere?
Nope. I think that's something picked up elsewhere. I think the only thing that he has ever been successful in is breaking locks and growing plants.
Okay.
So he has a very green thumb.
I like that. Like a supernaturally green thumb.
It's a supernaturally green thumb, yeah.
That's a lot.
I imagine that he really doesn't have very many friends, so he likes to spend his time talking and singing with plants.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. Gerald, why don't you introduce us to Rasay?
Sure. Rasay, he, him pronouns, formerly an errant knight, but was unable to uphold the chivalry code and really, I think, fell by the wayside in terms of prudence and temperance and obeying folks in authority. So it was really not a very good job. He's really an errant knight that erred, if you will. And so, now as part of his time as a knight, though, he did commit some crimes, and now he has to bribe the justicers so that they will erase them. So that's his drive, and he's now a leech in terms of an occupation, and that's kind of he when he was dabbling, if you will, with maybe some drugs and whatnot, some herbs, and he kind of got into the sort of dark arts of herbs and surgery and forensics and the sort of leech activities, and that's sort of what he's up to now.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. So you have this sword. Is that a sword that you've kept around from your days as a knight?
Indeed, that is one possession that he's held on to. So it is a sword from his more
I like
knightly
that.
days.
And if somebody from your hometown were to see you, how would they recognize the house that you are a knight to?
How would they recognize the house that I was a knight to back in the day, in terms of like our coat of arms?
So is that
Was
emblazoned like on the hilt of the sword?
yes, that was in the in the pommel, I think is maybe what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Um, and you've been out of practice for a while. How do you keep up the dueling? Do you have a sparring partner? Do you practice with yourself behind the house? What does that look like?
um, I keep up with it as best I can by myself. I don't have a sparring partner, but it is, it's a skill that it's a little rusty at times.
Yeah, that's good. I like the tree behind your kind of place of work has a bunch of like cuts and notches in it that nobody can really explain besides you out there hacking away the tree every once in a while. All right, and then Jan, why don't you introduce us to Vero?
Vero, he uses he/him pronouns. He has a background as a liberated prisoner, which was related to his drive, which is humiliate the chancellor of Yogyakarta Lyceum, I think it's pronounced. So I picture him as sort of kind of he's an antiquarian, right? So he's a kind of a lanky sort of not too tall. I would say call him of average height. He's got like a mean comb over that isn't fooling anyone, and I think he's got like his long hairs like continually fall in his face, and he fusses over them and blows it out of his eyes. And I think he has this energy that's like sort of frenetic, like he's drank too much coffee, and he continually talks to himself or to other people, and he's one of those people that he loses his train of thought and just continues talking, and then he just like what was I talking about? I don't remember. And he's a liberated prisoner because he's kind of a proud braggart weasel who infuriated the chancellor, who's also a fellow collector, who just was just had enough of him and threw him in jail, and then eventually took pity on him because he was in jail for like, I don't know, way too long, like years, and he liberated him. But according to Vero, Vero escaped, even though Vero definitely didn't escape. And what else can I say? So the reason he's wearing a bloody oversized armor and a hunter's knife, both of which do not really suit this gentleman at all. And that is related to the fact that, although I don't know if anyone in the party knows this, that he has this ritual to switch, which allows him to swap bodies with another person. So he's not a fighter, right? So I think his like approach, I think very often is to like swap into someone else's body, like without them knowing, then like stab himself and then swap with someone who's really tough last minute before they die or something like that. And so anyways, by chicanery of that sort, he's managed to get himself armor that doesn't fit. And he's carrying around this hunter's knife, which clearly doesn't suit him as well.
That's amazing. I love that. So you were thrown in jail. What was the like trumped up crime that you were accused of?
I don't even think it was trumped up crime. I honestly think that the chancellor is just like a powerful person and he doesn't need like a pretext. He's just like, fuck you, you're going to jail. That's it. We're locking you up.
That's amazing. I love that. So, uh, like you don't even have a criminal record. You were just in jail for
I'm just criminally annoying is what I am.
that's great. And you carry around this mystery scroll that you have from somewhere. Is this like an antique that you picked up on your travels? Is this a family heirloom, perhaps? Where did you get this mystery scroll?
I think it's a mystery scroll, partly because it's a mystery to me as well. I feel like I just might have picked up these items like I probably in my like whole scheme of trying to swap bodies with people, just like was like I'm taking your stuff, and I just have this like random bag of stuff that I haven't exactly gone through quite yet. So that's what's going on.
That's amazing. I love that. So, with that, we have our characters and we can start looking at our incursion. So, the town that you guys have arrived at, or were just left, the town of Wiltberg, is a very poor town in the shadow of an enormous castle. This castle, once the home of a sorcerer known only as the Creator, um, was basically the seat of power for this entire region for centuries, as far as all of you know, until the Creator died nearly 20 years ago now. And ever since then, the region and the castle have decayed and crumbled until they are barely more than kind of lone ruins standing on the top of this great hill. What is special is that there is a fabled, rumored font of power, something that the Creator left behind, hidden in this castle, that the four of you believe still exists. And it is a strong enough belief and a strong enough rumor that dozens and dozens of armies have tried unsuccessfully to conquer this town, to conquer this castle, and all of them have failed. You don't know why, you don't know how. People are starting to believe that the region is cursed, the land is cursed. The Creator's final wish was to decree that none shall reclaim this castle. But those are just stories. Those are just rumors that can't be real, surely. And so we pick up with the four of you trudging across a wet road. Your feet stick in the wet mud as the camera pans past a crow in the foreground pecking at a corpse that's been lying there for years at this point. And the four of you come upon a great hill. At the top of this hill, the castle stands an imposing iron and stone bulwark set against the sky, which is dotted with clouds and what seem to be a flock of birds flying around the castle. The hill itself is cracked and broken in places, and as you stand and stare, the The cracks emit jets of white flame that leap from the ground 10, 15 feet in the air before extinguishing themselves in the air. And you guys look out upon the battlefield that is this hill. See the hundreds, the thousands of bodies and wagons and horses that all lie dead. So, the name of this set is Upon the White Fire Hill. And the goal of this set is to get past the crows. And there is a special kind of caveat to this set that until the four of you are able to more permanently scare the crows away, this resets every time you leave this area. And so even if you make it past, you will still have to get past the crows again on the way out. So mechanically, since this is our first set, the way this works, as you guys explore this this hill, this setting, you will accrue hunt tokens, which in this case are tarot cards. At any point, the four of you can pool together what tokens you have, spend 3 of them, and you achieve the goal of the set, whatever that is. In this case, it is get past the crows. You can also spend those hunt tokens at any point 1-to-1 to get treasure. So if you're exploring and you get a hunt token, you can say, "No, I find a piece of treasure in that spot." Hunt tokens are a kind of a meta thing. So if there is truly treasure somewhere and you investigate it, you will find that treasure and I will give it to you in kind of a solid OSR type tradition where there's, for example, silver hidden in the farmer's mattress. If you investigate the mattress, you roll well, regardless of how well you roll, you will get the treasure that's in the mattress. If you roll well, you also get a hunt token that you can then spend to say, no, I find more treasure. Or if there wasn't anything in the mattress at all, and I say you investigate and you don't find anything, you can say, no, I have this hunt token. I actually think that there is something here and I'm going to find something anyway. And it might not be the silver in the mattress. It might be the artfully carved picture on the nightstand or something like that. But we will put some treasure into the scene for you to have. Does that make sense? Are there any questions about hunt tokens and sets? Yeah, Daniel.
Is there anything else mechanically you can do with hunt tokens, or are those the 2 things that they're good for?
So yes, so the 2 mechanical uses for hunt tokens are achieving the goals of the set and acting as treasure.
Okay.
If you leave the incursion with hunt tokens, they go away. So you should spend them before you leave so that you can get the treasure and meet your burdens. The one thing I didn't mention, you don't have to spend tokens to achieve the set goal. So if you manage to get past the crows, however you end up doing that narratively, that's fine. You get to save the tokens and you get treasure. And you can use them to get treasure instead. But if at any point you say, I'm kind of done with this, we should just move on, and you can just spend the tokens and move on. And that's your prerogative. So the 4 of you are at the base of this hill. It is very wet. It has been raining for the past couple of days. So most of this path and the hill leading up to the castle gates are just slick mud that you can, as you look out onto this battlefield, many of the wagons and corpses are actually sunk halfway into the muck and mud of this battlefield that is half drenched with rainwater and half drenched with blood and other bodily fluids. So what are you interested in exploring? So let's hop to Rasei first. What is Rasei looking for in this situation?
Well, I'm curious about the bodies on the battlefield to a certain extent, and I want to get a better picture of if are there recent deaths, like just how that all fits together in the sort of emerging scene, and if it looks really truly like a battlefield, or if there's a connection with the fire crack stuff.
Yeah, so you make your way kind of trudging up through the muck that is now kind of up to your ankles uh, into the center of the battlefield, and there are uh, corpses from in varying states of decay. There are ones that look like they've been here 20 years from when the creator originally died, and the first wave of armies came in to claim this place. And some look as fresh as a month, 2 months, and still have most of their connective tissue still attached to their bones. Um, is there something specific that you're looking for at this moment?
I was curious, I mean, you've sort of covered none fresher than a month or so. I'm interested to know if there's another party that's gone through, or group of people that's been, in more immediately than that. So I'm kind of looking for
Okay.
fresh bodies, if you will.
Yeah, I like that. So I think this is going to be our first hunt roll. And so the way this works, this is one of the like two main mechanics of this game. So we are going to build a dice pool, and then you roll all the dice together at once, and whichever one is the highest is whatever your result is. So you get one light colored dice if, sorry, for just asking questions and for just saying, I want to know the thing, I want to investigate the thing, I want to look up the thing. So you just get one dice per frame. You get a second light colored dice if you have a skill or a piece of equipment that helped you in this moment. So do you have any skills or items that you think make sense?
I think maybe forensics, in terms of looking at the bodies and trying to discover time of death sort of things.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So now that you've built your dice pool, you will roll both of them at the same time. If your highest dice is a 1, you lose all your tokens and you encounter something terrible. If the 2 or a 3, you just encounter something terrible. If it's a 4 or a 5, you get a hunt token, but you encounter something terrible. And if it's a 6, you get a token and don't encounter anything. So
Those are good odds.
yeah, great. I love it.
Yeah.
So why don't you roll 2 light dice? That is a
All
2
right.
and a 3. All right. So give us a little bit of fiction as you're like investigating one of these fresher corpses. What does that look like?
Yeah, my feet are cold and they're in the muck, and yet I bend over and I can't get close enough to really tell. So now I have to crouch and get on my hands and knees, and I'm looking at these bodies, and the ones that looked particularly fresh. But I'm like pulling on the arm of a body to test the rigor mortis and see how much has set in. And it's very, it's very stiff. It's definitely, these aren't super recent, but they're still fresh, if you will.
I like that. So you're pulling, you grab this arm, you're pulling it up out of the muck, and it makes this squelching, sickly noise as it pulls out of the mud. And once you get it maybe an inch out of the mud, a ghostly specter of a hand kind of bends awkwardly out of the arm at a weird, awkward angle and grabs onto your wrist. and it feels solid. It feels like it's pulling you, it's dragging you, and you can hear in your head the screams, "Help! Get us out! Help! Help!" What do you want to do? If anybody is close enough, you can say that you're close enough to, because this is a fairly obvious, like bright blue glowing hand that has reached out of this corpse.
I'm immediately paralyzed with fear, to be honest. You know, that's the kind of thing that can still freak a night out. And I can, the scream is like caught in my throat for a moment.
I'll say Parda is near you, and you feel this jerk on the back of your collar as I rip you from the body and say, "You fool! Don't you know any better than to mess with the dead?"
Apparently not.
Must be.
And as you rip away, you see the hand continue to like pull itself out of the arm before what look like white shackles loop around the arm and pull it back in. And the voices go silent.
This is something quite dire that you've uncovered.
Can I just jump in here, Sam? So I have a quick question. I'm very unfamiliar with this game, so I just want to make sure that I'm on the same page with everyone. So like, how do I win? Like, am I here to just grab treasure and like leave? Is that what I'm doing?
So yeah, winning, I guess, is subjective. The mechanical goal of this game is to meet your burdens. So you personally have a burdens of 3. And so if you ever go back to town with less than 3 treasures, you die. You die in poverty. You can't afford to feed yourself, and you starve on the streets. And so the unsaid objective of this incursion is to go out into the dark places, find enough treasure to support yourself, and then head back. Maybe potentially store some of it away for a rainy day, and then repeat the process.
And does the encounter sort of set us up with how we know each other, or is that up to us?
That is entirely up to you. And I was going to kind of have that be emergent as we walk through.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So there are a couple of questions in the chat. There are a couple of crows that are just kind of like scattered around the corpse field here. Most of them are pecking away at some of the fresher bodies, but there is a very large flock that seems to be circling the top of the castle. So what is Alessio up to as
Yeah,
Parda and Rasei are poking around
sure.
at a corpse?
So I think when Parda pulls Rosé off the corpse and calls him a fool, Alicio is going to sort of like stand up from the corpse that he was digging around in the pockets of just then, and just sort of like mutter echo, "Yeah, fools." And I think that Alicio is going to. So you said there are like there corpses, obviously, right? But there's also like carts and things like that, presumably like sort of buried in mud and things.
Yeah.
So that seems like a much more lucrative and probably less dangerous path to some riches than messing around with corpses and things. So I think that that while now that he's learned this lesson from Parda about messing with corpses being foolish, he is going to go and maybe stalk out the nearest like half covered wagon or something and see if there's supplies or valuables that can be found.
Yeah, I like that. I did forget one thing. So as part of this module, all of the sets are tied to specific major arcana. So when we enter a set, I will show off that this set is linked to the card of death. So feel free to use that imagery as you will. But that will kind of sit in our playing cards.io room while we play, and you can pull off of that. So as you make your way over to this cart, and I think there's maybe like a small set of pair of wagons. One of them looks to be like a looted cart that maybe held like gunpowder and supplies. There's some like barrels of something that have been broken and their contents spilled out onto the ground. And the second cart has 3 cages in the back that at one point appear to have held prisoners of war. All 3 cages have corpses in them where the people died after their captors left and left them to starve in their cages. I think we're going to have a hunt roll here for you to kind of explore these 2 carts.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Do you want? Sorry. So you get 1 hunt roll token for. So you get 1 hunt roll. Blah blah blah. I talk
One light
correctly.
die?
You get 1 light die for
Okay.
exploring the world, and you get another light dice if you have a piece of equipment or a skill that you want to use.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're explicitly telling me that there is some reason to, like, you know, unlock these cages to get at something or something like that, I don't really see that any of my skills are necessarily going to be relevant.
I think unlocking the cages and exploring inside the cages to see if there's like anything, because these prisoners were very clearly like they have like their armor and stuff on, so maybe maybe there's still something on them.
Yeah, cool then. Sure, I'll use security since I'm a lockpick, and I guess do I need to like put some lockpicks then in my equipment?
Not if you don't want to. It's kind of assumed that as you have the skill, you have the basic equipment that
Oh, awesome.
would go with
Okay,
it. So
cool.
that totally tracks. Yeah. So why don't you roll 2 light dice?
Okay. So is there anything like I forget what they're called in Trophy Dark, but is there anything like a Devil's Bargainy kind of thing in this, or is it all?
Yes. So that is the second of the 2 major mechanics. And that happens when we get some risky thing happening.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. 2 light dice. I think I've done this right. Boo. 4 and 4.
4 and 4. So you get a hunt token. So if you want to draw a card from the hunt cards deck there, and you can put it in your hand, which is the big white bar at the bottom of the page.
I would love to. Okay, got it.
And so you have one hunt token that you can spend at any point. And so you make your way. I think these are kind of like big wood and iron cages. I think the wood is pretty rotten. So you've got this metal lock, and you kind of pull and twist at it, and it breaks away fairly easily after you've given it a good kind of twist with your lock pick. And you push your way into the cage. The prisoner in the cage that you open up has something on their regalia that clearly indicates that they're from the same city you're from. What is it?
I think that they have the livery of the noble house that my betrothed belongs to.
I love that. Yeah, that's good. Do you have an idea for what that is?
One moment, please. I think it is like It is sort of like a white flower upside down on a black field.
Okay, yeah, that's fun.
So like your card.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that. So it's this kind of like black shawl that's tattered and ripped and kind of falling off of this guy's shoulders, but it's still clear to you exactly what it is. And so you get your hunt token. But as you are poking around at this body, trying to see if there's any useful things left on him, um, again, one of these spectral hands reaches out and grabs you, even as you're like kind of like poking at the armor that he has on his chest. It reaches just straight out of the chest and grabs you by the wrist, and you get the same screaming. It sounds like it's coming from right behind your neck. Just screaming, "Help! Get us out! We can't be here. We're not supposed to be here. Let us out!"
So I think Alicia is gonna like shriek and like initially kind of like try to backpedal to one corner of the cage. Um, but then I think he's gonna kind of like look at the hand and sort of like tilt his head, and he's gonna reach out and try to pull it out of the corpse.
Okay. I like that. I think this is going to be our first risk roll. So you were asking about that just a moment ago.
I was very excited.
You were. So the way the risk roll works, it again, we're building a dice pool. We just care about the highest one, but the building of the pool is a little bit different. So you get one dice if this is something that you are skilled at, or because yes, you get one die if it is something you are skilled at because of your occupation, background, or training, because you're taking advantage of a piece of equipment, or because you are using the environment to your advantage. Do you think any of those apply in this situation?
So is that like 4 potential dice, or is that
No, so that is one dice for
one
any
dice
one of
for
those
any of those
things.
things? Okay, yeah. So like I think I don't know that I have like a particular skill that would be or background that would be necessarily relevant to this, but I think probably what Alicia is doing is he is using he's using the cage, like the metal bars, to support himself. So he's not like on like mucky, slippery ground, or he's not like sliding, you know, like not sinking into the mud or anything like that, right? He's using it as a anchor, so that he can pull more fiercely.
I like that. Yeah. The second die you get is for accepting a devil's bargain. And so these are ways that the fiction can change that are not necessarily tied to success or failure of this act. And so as an example, the kind of the stereotypical one is you need to use a ladder to climb up a wall. So a devil's bargain could be you lose the ladder slips right as you're at the top, and so no matter what, the ladder is going to be gone or broken. But you should always be able to put "no matter what" in the front of it to say, no matter if you succeed or you fail, this thing is going to happen. And a good devil's bargain won't be incumbent on succeeding or failing. So it could be, even if it's like that same thing, no matter what you're left hanging from the top, it kind of mitigates the success and means failure doesn't happen, which is not great. So we'll kind of work through these and figure them out as we go. But everybody who is not Daniel gets to offer a devil's bargain here. So I'm going to go first and say that the devil's bargain here is that the cage swings shut and locks you in. John, Jan, or Gerald, do you guys have offers here?
That's a pretty good one. So this person we said is from the same family as your love, right? I think we established that. I think no matter what, you receive some sort of death prophecy about your love or her family.
Don't you break my heart, John.
I have a idea as well. I think you pull so well, in fact, that no matter what, some aspect of them possesses part of one of your limbs or an eye or something like that.
I like that. That's fun. Gerald, do you have any? You don't have to.
No, I think some of these are already pretty great. I'm good.
Okay. That sounds
Do I
good.
get to choose the one I like best, or do you choose, or how does that work?
You get to pick any of them,
Any of them.
but you only get to pick one, and you only get one die.
Right. One die, right.
Or none.
Or none,
Yes.
right? Yes,
Yeah.
or none, right. I had in mind already the getting locked in the cage, because I think that would be just his kind of unluck. So I think that's probably the one I'm going to go with.
Okay. I like that.
Let's do that, and then
Okay.
so that gives me one additional die, one additional
Correct.
light die. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So currently you have 2 light die.
Okay.
So normally we would do this thing first. I got a little wrapped into putting the dice pool together. But the first thing that we should do is you say exactly what you hope is going to happen,
Right.
and then each of us will say exactly what could go wrong.
Okay. And that's the step prior to the double
prior to the dice pool. So
yeah. So I hope that I am going to pull this spectral entity free, and free it from its bonds.
okay. I think the thing that could go wrong here, the thing that could go wrong here is that the magic needs a soul. It doesn't care which soul, and so it's going to latch onto you.
Cool.
And also, again, John, Jan, or Gerald can offer ways that this thing can go wrong.
I think the way that it could go wrong is that you free the spirit from its body. Like that, and that might not turn out, that might not be so great.
Oh, it's not it's not a benevolent spirit, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm excited by that idea because either way, I'm trapped in a cage with it. So I kind of like that. Does anybody else have one? Okay. I'd like to go with that one if that's all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you may, if you choose to add a dark dice off the bat, you don't have to. If you roll and you don't like what you got, you can always add another dark die and re-roll everything. The one condition is that if the dark die is the highest and it is higher than your current ruin, your ruin goes up and you can't re-roll and you're stuck with whatever it is.
Okay. And that is effectively the only way to take damage and come closer to death in this game, right? Is by that mechanic.
So that is the damage mechanic. There are also conditions that can be imposed, like a broken arm would be a condition, but it would not necessarily be a ruin increase. And if the fiction makes sense that you just die, then that's how it goes sometimes. But
yeah, that's
mechanically, yes, ruin is the hit points in this game.
Okay, but it seems like there's no advantage to adding a dark die right now, since I can do it later.
Yeah, not really.
And I will know then if I need it. So
yeah.
Okay, let's just do this. I'm ready to roll. Done talking about these silly dice. Let's see what happens. 2 and a 3 is not great.
That is a 2 and a 3. So that would be a failure.
Okay.
So you may add a dark die and re-roll the 2 light die and another dark die.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Okay. So I've added 1 dark dice. I'm rolling 3 dice in total.
Yep.
John, this will differentiate the light die from the light dice from the dark die when I roll, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it'll have
Okay.
a different title. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Boop.
Nice.
Wow, that's 2 6s for my light dice.
That's awesome.
That seems
So
unreasonably good.
that is really good. So yeah, give us some fiction about what this looks like as you pull this specter from its bond.
Yeah, sure. So I think Alicia sort of like tentatively reaches out and like grasps the spirit hand, like by its fingertips, and kind of pulls, and he's frightened, and then eventually he reaches out again, and it sort of clasps his wrist, and he clasps its wrist, and he starts to pull, and those white tentacles, like, or however, the chains that you described, come out and like start to sort of wrap around both Alicio and the arm, and he just panics. He freaks the f out, and he just sort of like starts to try to scramble his way out of the cage. Let's see. That's right, because the cage closes, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So at that point, like, he's just bouncing around inside the cage with this attached to this arm, and the cage door slams shut, and his dumb luck, the lock engages, right? And so now he's in this sort of desperate fight inside this cage, and I think that what happens is the wolf comes out in him, and he actually like starts to gnaw at just desperately sort of gnaw at the chains, the ghastly chains that are coming out, um, and kick and pull and scratch, and he doesn't even know how. But at some point, he winds up in one corner, and he has this human spirit that has been freed from this corpse, and it's starting to dissipate.
Yeah. I think that uh, the spirit that is like dissipating in front of you is skeletally thin. It's emaciated. Its skin looks like it's hanging on bones that are too small for it, and it's not as terrifying, and it's more just pitiful. It looks like it's malnourished and been sucked dry of everything that it had, as it gives you this expression that just says thank you, even if it can't say it, as it starts to fade. But this corpse is still like lashing chains, these white kind of glowing chains out of it. And I think Vero is probably the one that's close enough to do anything about this, because the other two are off busy doing their corpse digging. How does Vero react when this Elysia just starts flailing around in this cage and there's these glowing white chains everywhere?
Vero isn't known for his courage, but he is known for his affectations. So I think he's like looking around for someone else to come and help. And like it's clear that other people are indisposed, and he's like, yeah, I'll be there in a moment, friend. Just hang in there. And I'll be like, oh fuck, I guess I have to go help him. And I'll like tiptoe over because I'm like worried about like a crack opening up or a fire. So I'm like meticulously putting down my foot to test the ground as I like get inch closer to this cage. And and I say something along. I really can't remember how you've roped me into this. I cannot recall. And you're like probably screaming like get me out of this cage or whatever, right?
Help!
Yeah. And yeah, and he's I think like Vero is like a proud braggart, so he's like, Oh, I was in a very similar situation about 2 decade. Did I say years? I meant months ago. And I got my friend, a good friend of mine, just out of and then we went for a drink, you see. And oh, well, one thing led to the other. And he like totally loses his, like, he's like starts wandering off on this rigmarole of like having a drink with some guy that leads into some other story or whatever. And then probably the screaming starts again, and then he's like, oh yeah, yes, of course. And he's like, right. And then he like picks up like a rock probably off the ground, and then just like tries to smash the lock. But I don't think he I don't think he like hits it over again like you would think someone would. I think he just like throws it once to just be like, and that's it. And then if it doesn't work, he like goes to pick up the rock again and just like, throws it once. And probably like he misses some proportion of the time, like he can't get it at like point blank range.
I like that. I think that is the easier portion of this task. I think that maybe like the second time you hit this lock with the rock, it just kind of like falls open. Alicio has already basically has busted most of it, so it's fairly weak on its hinges. But Alicio is still on the wrong side of this this corpse. So how would Vero like to deal with that particular issue? Or does Elisio have a way that you're going to kind of rope the two of you in together on this?
Yeah, so maybe you can paint a picture for me exactly. So I'm on one side of this cart, right?
Correct. So it's imagine like a big long wagon where one whole side of it is just these cage doors. One of them you have busted open, and on the floor, pretty much maybe 2 feet away from you, very close to you, is this corpse that is kind of mangled and emaciated, and is like lashing out with these chains at anything that it can get close to. And on the opposite side of the cage, kind of backed up against the corner, trying to avoid as much of this as possible, is Alicio. So the door is open. You have a way out. You could choose to move on past this, or like try and figure out a way over this. You could try and figure out a way to shut the magic down somehow.
I think I'm going to I think like Vero's, this is one of the things that Vero's good at, and that is he's just going to pretend like he knows what he's doing. So I think what he wants to do is just pull out the scroll that he realizes he has like in the back of his thing backpack, and then I think he wants to like posture, if it's possible, towards this like evil creature that he's gonna like say some ritual to get rid of it when he's really not, to give Alicio a window to like sneak by or something like that.
I think that's hilarious. I love that. So you're gonna like threaten this thing to go away. I love that. Um, so I remember there are rules for helping people, and those were added recently in the Discord, and I don't remember what they are off the top of my head.
I listened to a podcast with these in it like a little while ago, and it just went in one ear and out the other because I didn't
Yeah.
have any rules knowledge to anchor it to.
So yeah, so this is going to be a risk roll again. So do you have a piece of equipment, a skill, or a part of the environment that you're using to help you? You are muted.
I have that scroll tube and I have the skill of obfuscation.
Yeah, I think those both track.
Yeah.
So the other thing is Devil's Bargains. And again, I forgot. Say when you attempt a risky task, say exactly what you hope will happen.
I hope that this ghost gets scared, or this thing gets scared and just like, like presses against the cage as far as it can, or like goes back to die, or like slips through the bars or whatever. It just essentially becomes like not, not a thing anymore.
I like that. So um, I think I think that tracks. I think that is definitely something that is possible here. Um, what could go wrong in this situation? I think that um, the the this thing could grab your scroll and that somehow makes it um, go away, but it also dispels whatever magic the scroll had in it. Like it the backlash of grabbing onto this thing causes it to disappear. Does somebody else have a way this could go wrong?
What if you're reading the scroll and it actually enacts what's on the scroll?
Okay. John or David, Daniel, do you guys have any contributions there, or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm interested in Devil's Bargain though.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, I think maybe it's just not, it's not intimidated, and instead of pressing the attack against Alicio, it turns on Vero directly.
That sounds
Yeah.
right to me.
Yeah,
That's
I think that point it would be combat. But we will see how that goes. Right. Devil's Bargains. So the Devil's Bargain that I'm going to offer here is that no matter what, this thing is going to lash out and burn your arm. With this, this chain is going to kind of like catch you a little bit and burn you, and you're going to get a condition from that.
I'm going to repurpose my earlier Devil's Bargain and say, no matter what, it touches you and you receive a vision of your own death.
I would like to offer up that no matter what, you find out that the spirit is someone that you love.
I'm good. Those are all great.
Okay. Jan, do any of those interest you?
I think the one that will be like hardest for Vero will be the vision of his own death.
I
I don't
like
think,
that.
yeah, he's never faced his own death, He's like very much in maximum denial about everything.
Yeah. I like that. So the other thing that I actually did find is the help rules. So does Alicia want to help with this?
Yeah, I imagine probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so. So the way this works is that Daniel, you will roll one light die.
Mhm.
And this is your weak point. And the way that this works is that it will add another die to Vero's roll. But if any of Vero's dice come up as the number that you roll, you take a ruin.
Huh. Okay. Okay. And Vera's rolling 3 dice now.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go ahead and help.
This is not like combat where there's that you can just infinitely scale on ruin. You can get at most 1 ruin from this. So it's not gonna immediately kill you like combat typically does. Cool. So why don't you roll your 1 die to see what your weak point is.
A
That's a
2.
Okay,
Very exciting.
fine. And so Vero, you have 3 dice now, 3 light dice.
Okay.
And we are just looking for the highest one.
Okay. So 3 light dice and nothing else, right?
You are free to add a dark die if you would like. And adding a dark die means that you are risking your mind or your body somehow in this
Oh
endeavor.
God, no, not for somebody else. I would never do that.
Well, there's a 6, and there's no 2s. So Alicio avoids any ruin, and you guys succeed. So Vera, what does this look like as you scare away this?
Yeah. I think he gets the scroll out, right? And he like adjusts his glasses, and he's like, "Biberum minoxum farumba," and it's just like total gibberish, right? And he's like shivering or something for the effect, and like his hair falls in his face, and he has to like stop to adjust it. And probably the ghost is more confused than anything. Like, what is this guy doing? Yeah, I think that's what it looks like.
And I think that there is one word in this like gibberish that you say that this ghost just stops and panics. And yeah, what word is that?
I think it was Vinoxum.
Yeah, I like that. So you're giving this random gibberish, and you've got this scroll held up, and you shout Vinoxum, and it stops.
Yeah.
And the chains, one of them kind of reaches out and just like tests the waters a little bit. Wraps around the scroll and onto your hand, and you get this flash, this kind of black and white vision. What scares Vero the most?
I think what scares Pharaoh the most is that he's wearing the same clothes as he is now.
I love that. That's hilarious. And you get this flash of yourself strung up by the neck by a black, almost liquid. It looks like a goop or like an ink that's been formed into a solid rope, and it's wrapped itself around your neck, and you can see your legs kicking. And then you get 2 quick flashes in succession. One of a woman that you've never met, and the second of a man who is tired and smiling. And then there's a flash of light that Elysio sees from the scroll and from this chain that is wrapped around you, and the ghost shrinks itself back into this corpse and leaves the 2 of you alone.
Yeah, and probably Vero is like, because I don't think that Alicia would know that he was just making stuff up, right? So he's like, I think maybe like, yeah, you see, I'm us antiquarians, we are full of the ancient knowledge. You should take notes, my friend.
Yes, I think Alicia like darts out of the cage and kind of like looks in awe at Vero and sort of like just reaches out and touches his arm briefly and sort of like bows and then just backs away very quickly, like he's scared. And at some point he'll like as he's backing away, he'll turn around and he'll start to retreat towards the rest of the group. And as he does so, he like looks into his hands and he sees a brooch that he took off the corpse. And I'd like to spend my hunt token.
I love that. That's perfect. I was also going to offer that the armor of these corpses is actually in pretty good condition, and especially this one, since it has that royal livery on it, would be worth a gold if you were to bring that out. Vero can do that if Vero wants to grab that off the corpse.
I think Alicia is done with that corpse.
Yeah. So mechanically, that would be a treasure, not armor, right?
You may treat it as either. So the way this works is that if you take it as armor, you can take it as armor, but your burdens go up by 1.
It's anti-treasure.
It becomes anti-treasure, but also you have more armor. So
right. But I can't trade it for the armor I already have. Do it? Can I? Can I like do a 1-to-1 swap?
No. So the armor that you have is permanent.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, so okay. So let me just make sure I understand. If I take it as treasure, it counts as me meeting my burden, right?
Yep, it's one of the 3 that you need to meet your burdens. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's probably what Vera will do. Yeah, and he'd be like, he'll come up with something. He'd be like, oh yes, the armor of the twin sound. Yes, I would love. This is a priceless piece. It would be worth much in the market. And he'll like peel it off this thing and like put it in his bag.
It's not worth that much. It's a pretty common piece of armor, but it is in good condition. And so if you sell it to an armorer or a swordsmith, they will appreciate it and give you a gold for it. But
half of being an antiquarian for Vero is just making shit up about garbage.
Do we note these items down under found, or do we just put a gold in, or how does that work?
These items are in your found equipment. So if at any point you want to use them up and say that you're using them as part of your thing, you are more than welcome to do that. All right, we are a little bit past the top of the hour, so I think we're going to take our break here, and we will be back at 18 after. Sound good to everybody? We'll see you all in 10 minutes. Reel back. Everybody good to keep going?
Mm-hmm. What should I do with my hunt token card?
So I wanted to hop back there. So what card is it?
Was that 3 of Pentacles?
That is the 3 of Pentacles. How does that card manifest in this brooch that you found?
So I think maybe the brooch was is the insignia of the rank for the knights of this house's order, and I think that I don't know what the 3 would signify, but I guess like that would signify that the person is a reasonably low rank in the house. And that the brooch is sort of like it's the same shape, right? It's sort of like a pentacle shape, kind of like the flag, right, on their livery. So it's sort of the same kind of shape.
I
I
like
think that's
that.
what it looks like. Yeah.
So it's that three pentacle. It's that three kind of like flowery pentacle looking thing in the top.
Yeah.
That's really cute. I like that. So yeah, so that just kind of goes over here into a discard pile. Cool. So the other thing that we get to do now is we can add this kind of chain ghosty thing to the bestiary. Now that both Eliseo and Vero have done something against it, the two of you get to decide on a name for it.
I mean, when Vera recalls the stories of this thing, it's going to be like the most horrible, like terrible thing that ever existed on Earth. So it has to have an equally magnificent name, you know, like what was the name of the creator? I want to like name drop him somehow in the name, like Shadow of the Creator, you know, or like something like
I
that.
love
Like
that.
make it super epic.
Does
Any
that sound
ideas?
good with you, Eliseo? Yeah, so there is a tab on the character keeper for the bestiary, so you can add the Shadows of the Creator to be the name of those things. And then you've got 6 kind of spots here to take notes on whatever it does or what it happens to do. And then if you ever discover defenses or weaknesses of it, you can record them. And so a little bit of mechanical stuff about the bestiary. This is the only permanent thing in the game. So even if your characters die or we move to a new incursion, you guys keep the bestiary forever. And anything that you record on here and any weaknesses or defenses that you guys manage to figure out, you can keep using and get mechanical benefits from them. So it's always good to write stuff down and figure stuff out on here. Cool. So let's hop back to Parda and Rasei, who are kind of figuring themselves out, pulling themselves up out of this muck that is covering this whole side of the hill. Above you, probably maybe 100, 150 feet up this fairly steep hill is the large gate of this castle that at one point was this grand ornate carved gate of iron and oak that is now a patchwork accumulation of hundreds and hundreds of different attempts to break through it and then patch it back up from the other side once one person has broken through and made a fortification in the courtyard beyond. As you're staring up at it, again, you feel a slight kind of rumble under your feet and a jet of flame lances up out of the ground, not 10 feet to your left. What do you guys want to do? There are still these corpses that are scattered all over the place. You can most of them seem to have some amount of equipment still on them. It doesn't look like very many scavengers have actually gone through most of these. Or you could forge ahead and try and just make it to the gate and get farther into the castle.
So I think Parda, after having pulled Rasai off, am I saying that right? Rasai? Rasai. After having pulled him off of the one corpse, pulls out her fishing net and magnet and she's explained to you, so you have to be careful. You never know what's hiding in these things, creatures, spirits. What are they? You have to learn to examine without touching. I'm gonna fashion this like pendulum, this like crude metal detector, just the magnet hanging at the bottom of the net, and say, and then just after I've done this, shout over my shoulder, "Come on, everyone! We didn't come here to poke dead bodies. We're here to get into the castle. Grab what you can on the way, but keep moving." And I'm just gonna start trudging up the hill while swinging this net in sort of a slow arcing fashion, lowering it down over the bodies, looking to see if anything, if the magnet, connects with any good strong metal, because that's something that's valuable.
I love that. That's amazing. So I think this is a hunt roll here, because you are kind of investigating something about the set. So why don't you you get one die for doing it, and you get another die because you've got your weird net magnet contraption thing that you've rigged up, and I love. So why don't you roll us 2 light die? That was a 3 and a 5. So you get a hunt token, and you encounter something terrible. So I think the you get a hunt token that you get to keep. You also, as you are swinging this kind of net over, there's a kind of a slorp as this chunk of iron pulls itself out of the muck and sticks itself to this magnet. And then you're swinging it back, and another thickening kind of a like slurping noise as another chunk flies up and sticks to this. And you seem to be pulling uh, coins out of the mud. And there are these like rusted iron coins that are stamped with dozens and dozens of different seals and nobilities and cities and states, from all over, as you're kind of pulling these up, and you managed to get enough of them that you could reasonably get a gold from all of these kind of individual iron coins. And you're making your way up this hill, and as you're doing so, you feel a smack in the back of your head, and you're kind of trudging your way up, and you duck a little bit and look up just in time to see a crow flying up and away and circling around, looking like it's going to make kind of turn and make another pass to dive at your head, as 2 more of these crows uh, pick up off of nearby corpses and join the one that is circling. What do you want to do?
I rub the back of my head, say, "Blasted bird, you'll be my dinner tonight." I'm gonna take the magnet out of the net, stick it back in my pocket, and then kind of get into a wide base, get the net ready. Next time that bird swoops down, I'm catching it. That's my dinner later.
Okay. So I think that taking out the one crow is not that hard. Give us some fiction as what it looks like as you smack this crow.
It's watching Parda do this, you can see this is a woman that has lived off the land, has fluid movements and actions, with casting the net and such, and just the stance that she can take in reading the trajectory of the bird. And yeah, so just the bird goes to swoop, and the net flashes out. It does have silver woven into it, and so there's a glint as it shines and reflects the bit of sun, and then falls over the bird, and it's heavy enough, right, that it's just gonna a heavy thud as the net and the bird all plops into the mud, and the bird is just trapped in the corner. And then I'll pull out my dagger and go ahead and we do have an ask for no harm to animals. I just want to make sure everyone's okay with me killing the crows. I don't see anyone objecting, so so I'll pull out my dagger and go ahead and finish off the crows. Say, well, there's my dinner. Don't know what y'all are eating tonight.
I love that as you're saying that, and you look up, and Raisi is kind of like jogging to catch up with you, and the crow that you managed to catch was just squawking and screaming and flapping it all the whole way down, and you notice that the two that kind of flew up to join it have flown off, and you can see them kind of flying up into the air. And then they merge with the flock of crows that is flapping around and circling this tower, which pulls off as this single mass of black crows that starts to swoop around and make a looping path. And it looks like it's going to kind of skim over the top of this field. Let's say you see all of this you have a little bit of a better vantage point as Parda is kind of looking back at you. What's your first reaction to this?
I see the crow swooping down, and my immediate reaction is I know that crows they hold grudges, and they actually very social, and I instinctively feel that Parda may be in some danger in terms of what's coming, and so I rush forward and yell to alert her to look and to see the crows coming down. I draw my sword as I run, but I'm also not sure if I'm going to really be able to, stop a murder of crows flying down like they're like doing a strafing kind of a flight.
Yeah, and your doubts increase even more as you're watching, and the flock of crows doesn't seem to stop launching from the tower. It just keeps coming, and hundreds and thousands of these crows have pulled themselves up and out of the tower to swoop down at you. Eliseo and Vero, at this point, the two of you have definitely caught up. Does Rathe want to stand their ground, or what's the plan here?
Right now, yeah, Rathe wants to stand their ground, and has some uncertainty about its success, but that is really the only thought that I have right now as to what I would do, despite the looming threat.
Okay, I will let you know. If you choose to just stand here and let these crows come at you, this will be combat. This flock of crows has an endurance of 13.
That sounds like a lot. I don't have a trophy, so.
So the way that this works is you have to roll 2 dice and meet or exceed their endurance in order to defeat them.
Oh yeah, that sounds pretty rough.
So with 2 6-sided dice, there is not a way to, at this moment, defeat these. They have weaknesses, and if you're able to figure out what their weaknesses are, though whatever you manage to do to drop that down will decrease their endurance. So if you had 1 weakness, it would drop to 12. If you had 2 weaknesses, it would drop to 11. But at the moment, you don't have any of those things. You don't know what they are. And so this is certain death to stand in the face of this.
Is the ground rumbling?
Not at the moment.
No.
I feel
Alicia, like run. We're running.
Yeah. I'm okay with running.
Okay, I like that. So what do you hope will happen here?
I'm hoping that I will be able to outrun them, or to go far enough back that they'll relax their attack.
Okay.
Maybe just go back to circling.
So are you running back down the hill or are you running up the hill?
Well, that's a good question. I guess I'm running. Parta is in front of me, so I'm running up to her and through or past her, so that if she wants to run too, she doesn't have to go further, so to speak.
Okay. So the two of you are running up the hill towards the castle. What can go wrong here? I think the thing that can go wrong here is that the two of you get separated from Elisio and Vero, who are still lower down on the hill. And the four of you are kind of split up and have to figure this out independently. Does anybody else have things that could go wrong here?
They could oh god, I just thought something that could really go wrong. You could like get like a flock that just grabs you by all bits of your clothing and armor or whatnot and just picks you up and flies off with you. It drops you from a great height or something. I don't know.
Like they do with turtles to break the shells.
You could also like be running forward and looking behind you, and then just like fall into a hole.
Oh, fall into one of these cracks.
Yeah, a crack, or like I don't know, something that leads to you're separated on your own.
Those are all good. Daniel, do you have anything?
Nah, those are all fine.
Okay. Does Rasay have any skills or items that you think would be useful here?
I do not think that forensics, herbs, or surgery are going to help in this moment.
Okay.
Maybe in a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe. And devil's bargains here. I think that the devil's bargain I'm going to offer is that you are running so fast that you run out of your boots, and your boots get stuck in the mud, and you have to do the rest of the incursion barefoot. Does anyone else have a devil's bargain they want to offer?
I mean, the one that comes to my mind is you just get like clawed and pecked a whole bunch to the point where your clothes is ribbon, your hair is like patchy, like your head is threadbare, basically, so to speak. Like you got like little clumps, and you're just exposed to like infection through this mud and all the corpses everywhere, essentially.
Can a devil's bargain like inflict a condition?
It can. It keep in mind that it shouldn't be it shouldn't negate a success or mitigate a failure.
Sorry, I my internet went wonky for a
Sorry.
second. So I asked if a
Just
devil's bargain can inflict a condition.
yeah, it can. Just keep in mind that it shouldn't like negate a success or mitigate a failure in any way. It should be kind of independent of a success state or a failure state. I think we lost. John, did you have any devil's bargains?
Nope, I don't. I like the ones that are out there.
Oh, I do like having just a phobia of crows. That is pretty good.
Oh man, the Die Hard is so tempting now, with the losing of the shoes. But a fear of crows would also be pretty apt. I'd take that as a condition or as a thing.
Yeah, I like that. So yeah, you can add phobia of crows as a condition if you want to. And that gets you a light dice. So currently you are rolling with one die. You can choose to add a dark die now and risk your mind or body with it, or you can choose to just roll the 1 die and see what you get. You can always
Let's
add more
roll
dice
the-
later.
Yeah, let's roll the 1 die and see what happens.
That's a 5. So you will succeed at a cost. I think the cost here is that you will. I liked the one about like tripping into one of these cracks, but I think it's going to be that you're running, and as you start running, the earth starts to rumble, and I think that one of these cracks is going to kind of burst right beside you and Parda as the two of you are running up this hill. So you succeed, but you are sprawled out on the ground in the mud, and that is the complication. So you can still add a dark die and re-roll if you don't like that and want to be you want to try for the 6.
I'm good at 5.
You're good at 5? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so you, Vero and Elisio, the two of you are kind of halfway up the hill at this point. Rasei and Parda are about 3/4, most of the way up. And the two of you see this flock of crows like circling this one spot where Rasei and Parda have tripped and fallen down. This burst of flame has given them a bit of a respite, as the crows don't seem to like the fire. I mean, who would? But you guys have a moment to kind of either try and get in there or try and get around the crows if you would like to do that.
So I think Elisio is going to be like, he's going to be rubbing the brooch that's in his pocket now with his thumb, and he's going to be murmuring under his breath about, who's foolish now, Parda. Never listen to you again. And then I think I would like to try to befriend the crows. So
Okay.
I have a bag of hard candies in my pocket. And I think that maybe one of the things that Elisio can do, because I like the imagery of it and it's kind of tragic, like one of the few transformations he can do, like I said, he's kind of like the werewolf bite didn't really take, right? But one of the things that he can do is he can like transform his throat so that he can make the most beautiful sounds. So he can like mimic bird song and things like that, right? Or like, like pretty things like that. And so I think that he's going to try to like give the crows an offering in exchange for passage.
I like that. I honestly think this is a hunt roll.
Okay.
Because you're trying to press deeper into the environment by doing this. That's
Okay.
that's
As
what
opposed to
you're
like
trying to do.
doing a risky thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're
while he's-
exploring your possibilities here. This might turn into a risk roll if you roll badly, but
Sure. Yeah.
So you got a light die for doing a thing, and you've got your hard candies and your skill, so those both check out. So you get 2 die here.
While he's doing this, I think, like, first of all, I think Vero has been talking this whole time, and maybe he like ended his sentence with a question and he's like waiting for an answer from you, but clearly you've like tuned him out and like started doing something else. And I think he like, while you start doing what you're doing, I think he's like, oh, thank God we didn't we missed the crows, like they look like they're doomed, like something along the lines of like we should just take a step back and let the crows do their thing. Meanwhile, you're like summoning them towards us.
I love that. So
All right. So two dice straight.
yep, 2 light die.
Here we go.
As a pair of
Wow, that is a
threes.
3 and a 3. That's not great.
So with a pair of threes, I think I'm trying to think of how this manifests, because I think you are successful in drawing them over to you by holding out these candies in your hand and sticking your hand up in the air. Um, you call out to them. Do you like you can make the bird sounds? Can you understand the bird sounds, or is this just a one-way thing?
I think it's probably just a one-way thing.
Okay. I think, yeah, you hold your hand out, and this crow, this old white crow, comes and it like breaks away from the flock and comes and lands on your hand, and is staring at you with four eyes, two where they're supposed to be and two vertically on its forehead. And it lets out this ear-splitting caw right in your face, scoops up like three or four of these candies, and then flaps away kind of like awkwardly. You can tell that one of its wings is a little bit misshapen, but it still manages to flap up and get back into the the flock, unless you want to intercept it somehow. But you have definitely drawn the ire or the notice of some of these as they see this other crow flap around. And Vero is definitely getting kind of freaked out as the flock gets closer and closer to the two of you.
Can I like make any assumptions about their behavior to this white crow? Like, are they deferential to it? Do they appear to be deferential to it? Do they appear to be like, is it ostracized, or like what does that relationship look like?
Yeah, you're a beast. You're like kind of a kind of beastkin, I guess. It's the best way that I can describe it. So they are that normally when you have like like an injured animal or a weak animal in a flock or a herd, they'll usually abandon it or attack it or something like that. They seem to be following it almost, or like giving it space to move and fly.
Oh, Parda. Yeah, I think I'm gonna let it go. I think I'm not gonna do anything to try to stop it.
Okay.
Um,
And these things are definitely starting. The sky is starting to go dark as the two of you can see this kind of circling murder of crows getting larger and larger above your heads to the point where it's starting to block out the sun.
right. I mean, Alicio is convinced that this diplomatic mission went extraordinarily well. So he's going to stay there and continue trying to offer candies to the other approaching crows. Whether that is a good idea or not, I'm not sure what Vero is doing at this point, though.
Oh, Vero realizes that you're an idiot, and I think what Vero's doing is he's doing the most cowardly thing a person can possibly do. He's taken the tar out of his backpack. He's painting himself black, and he's trying to blend in with the mud.
I love that. That's amazing. So yeah, I love that that image. So let's do a risk roll, I think is appropriate here. Because you're specifically trying to like avoid detection here, right? So what do you specifically hope is going to happen?
Yeah, I hope, essentially like the dream would be the crows come, kill all my friends, I find a bunch of treasure, I get it, and I walk out of here a rich man. Like that's like the perfect scenario for Vero.
So you're not trying to get to the castle. You're just trying to let everyone else die and then you loot their corpses.
I mean, like, Vero will take what he can get, right?
Okay. Sure. I love it. What can go wrong here? My first instinct on what can go wrong here is that um, you coat yourself in tar and you get stuck to something and you can't get off, and now you've basically gotten stuck to one of these corpses as it starts to reach out and grab you.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
That there are things that generate flame around.
Oh,
One could be very close.
yep. Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't even think of that.
I think another thing could be that you become tarred and feathers that molt off of these crows as they surround you, and it is so adhesive. You hadn't thought that far ahead, and you can't get it off, and now you're stuck, covered in tar and feathers.
These are all so good. Gerald, Rose, do you have one?
I'm all in on the flammability of tar, so it's already been spoken.
Okay. Cool. So, Vero, you have one die for exploring the world around you. Sorry, you have one die for the tar that you're using. So that's good. The second die for Devil's Bargains. I think I'm gonna loop that tarred and feathered thing back around as a Devil's Bargain, because I think that can happen regardless.
Yeah, I was thinking that actually probably is a better devil's bargain than what could go wrong. Yeah.
So I was thinking like actually that almost all of these would be a good idea, because first I see myself getting tarred and feather, which just adds to the flammability. And then I see myself catching on fire and totally being unable to get it off.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. Does anybody else have a Devil's Bargain they want to offer? Nope. Okay. Do you want that one? Because that's the only one that's on the table
I
right
mean,
now.
yeah, I would love to get tarred and feathered. I would
Cool.
love that.
And
Does that
then
mean... Go ahead.
you are definitely going to add a dark die, because you are definitely risking your mind or body in this moment.
Okay, yeah. So does that means I get 4 die? Three light?
You get 2 die, one light die for having a skill or a piece of equipment, 1 light die for taking the Devil's Bargain, and then you get 1 dark die.
Gotcha. Okay, here we go. I got a 6 on my light.
That is a 6 on the light die. So describe what Parda and Rasei see as this feather-covered, tarred mess slowly trudges up the hill past them.
So I think probably first what happens is like he just starts like moisturizing, like going nuts, putting all this thing, and then he like dives in the mud, and these things are going everywhere, right? And so he gets like the whole back of him like covered in this fine dusting of feathers, and the front of him's covered in mud. And they pass or whatever, and he starts trudging. This is so funny. He starts trudging up the hill, and he's like half feathered and tarred, and I mean, he's fully tarred, but he's half feathered and half mudded. And yeah, I think his hair is like glued like over an eye, like yeah, he looks miserable, obviously. But he's got like a little grin in like increasingly getting crusty mud in his... It probably like cracks off of his lip as he goes to grin, because he survived and he thinks he did it smartly.
I love that. So yeah, you pull yourself up and you are at the gate. You're not through the gate, you are at the gate. But you have managed to get up here in one piece, and the crows don't seem to be paying that much attention to you. Maybe it's because you smell like crow now. Maybe it's because you actually are tarred. Who knows? Let's hop back to Rasei, Parda, who are kind of in the thick of it. in this moment. The two of you are sprawled out on the ground, scrambling to get back up. What do you want to do in this moment to kind of get out of here? I think you have a small amount of time where you can go somewhere, but the window is small and it's closing fast.
Somewhere maybe being the gate, or no, that way is blocked to get up to the gate.
So you can get up to the gate. The gate is this 20-foot tall, imposing mass of broken beams and kind of twisted iron that seems like it's not going to be feasible for you guys to get through without a cannon. But you can at least get up there, and that will kind of give you something to put your backs up against.
I'm actually really curious. So we noticed that the crows clearly don't like the fire. Is there any broken scraps of wood that have caught fire, or that I could gather to then try and light on fire?
Yeah, I like that. We can make that hunt roll. I do want to say we are wrapping up very soon. Probably after this hunt roll, unless people are okay with going a little bit longer, because we're almost to the end of this set. Are people interested in sticking around for maybe another 10, 15 minutes to just finish this setup, or do we want to, does anybody have a hard out right after this?
I'm good.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know that I would want to go too much longer, guys. I'm kind of crashing, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll wrap up this hunt roll, and then we'll set ourselves up for a cliffhanger going into next week. So you have a light die for exploring. Do you have a skill or a piece of equipment that you want to use?
I have maybe foraging. Well, foraging is really like for searching for food, isn't it?
Yeah, if you were looking for like plants or something, I could see that. You can always roll with one. You can always pull another item out of your backpack.
That is a great point. You know what? I think that's what might do. So if I like just pull a torch out, does that change the fictional position of what this hunt roll is even about? Or are we?
I think the hunt roll then is, will this actually scare them away?
Yeah. Okay. Then let's just go with that. I'll pull out some torches. I think they come in packs of 6. I'll confirm after this, since I know we're trying to get this roll out.
Yeah, I like that. They come in packs of 3.
3, yeah. Cool. It actually autofilled. That was nice.
Cool. So yeah, so you've got your 2 light dice. So why don't you give that a roll?
Okay, 2 light dice. Roll a 5 and a 3.
Okay. So on a 5, you get a hunt token. So you get to draw a card, and you encounter something terrible. And I think the terrible thing is that you pull this torch out of your pack, and you don't have time to pull out a lighter and strike it, but you feel the earth rumbling beneath your feet, and you stick this torch out over one of these cracks to have the white flames ignite this torch. And you can swear that before the flames come, there's a brief moment where you can hear screaming. And then this whoosh of flame comes out of the hole, igniting the torch and sending this the crows kind of scattering above your head. As you wave this torch kind of above yourself to rid yourselves of them. And I think that is where we are going to pick up next week. So thank you, everybody who's watching. I very much appreciate you being here. Again, this is done through the Gauntlet. You can find more about the Gauntlet and all of our weird shenanigans at gauntlet-rpg.com. Links will be in the description of the video. And if you can follow the Kickstarter for this, I would very much appreciate it. I'm very excited to be bringing this forward, and you can find that at Kickstarter/The Soul Sword Forge. Thank you all so much. And if you come and join the Gauntlet, I really hope that I get to play with you soon. Bye, everyone.